See the dust. Hey guys, this is Brian from BeeReadyToday. I wasn't going to do this video, but I decided to. As we all know, today is September 11th, 20 years ago. Our country was attacked. And at that time, oh, look how dusty this thing was. I'm not joking here. At that time, no one was really expecting what happened. I don't know if the video is going to come out, and I don't know if I'm going to release this, but at any rate, this is a picture that I had for years, more than 20 years. My wife and I purchased this, I believe, when we were in Jersey, shortly after we got married. And it shows pictures, see if I can hold it up, of the various stages of the towers. In fact, a good buddy of mine worked in that building. And so this had been hanging up somewhere, and I decided to bring it down today. And as I said earlier, I wasn't going to do a video. I was just going to go ahead and do a video about fun and good news. I don't know. I just started. I pulled this picture down from where it was, and I noticed it was very dirty, very filthy. And this isn't fake, guys. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm playing on emotion here, but this is, for me, emotional. And so this picture here, I'm going to put it here to the side for a second because I just cleaned it. This picture here brings back a memory, several memories. One of my childhood. I remember, let me bring this back, driving by while they were building these buildings here. And I remember seeing the scaffolds and the way they looked. And I was a child old enough to know what was going on. Oh, my hair's a mess, that's all right. And so I remember my mother and I and my brother and my sister, we were driving in a taxi. And the taxi was owned by my uncle. And we were coming from church. And I remember driving by and seeing the scaffolding here and seeing these buildings in this state. And wait a minute, I don't even know if my youngest sister, Lupus in color, Raquel, was even born. I don't remember. But I remember being packed up in the back of my uncle's taxi. And as we were driving by, my mother, who passed away in 1978, I looked up and she pointed. She said, "Look at that. You see that?" And we were all looking at it going, wow, wow. She said, "That's just a disaster." I'm sorry, correction. She said, "That's just a accident waiting to happen." And so I never really thought that something would happen that would bring my memory back to that. And I don't remember that, but I definitely remember this picture here. And oh my goodness, I have interviewed, when I first got out of the military, in both of these buildings for various jobs. Good high school buddy of mine, he was actually in my wedding, worked in that building. He's okay. I hope he's okay. I haven't spoken to him in over 10 years, but he was okay. But I wasn't going to go online. I wasn't going to discuss this until I started cleaning this picture. And again, this isn't fake. This is how much dust. Okay, Don't say Be Ready Today's house is filthy. Don't say he's a mess just because he had to clean the picture. But it brought me back to that day, September 11th, 2001. I'm just going to share a little bit about that day. It was a beautiful day. Weather-wise, it was beautiful. And I was here in Virginia. It was beautiful. And I remember getting ready for work. And on my screen, right before everything started happening, there was a caption, because CNN used to run I think they still do this, but CNN ran a caption, FAA communications between control towers went down for 5 minutes, or something along those lines. And being in technology is, oh, that's different. And so I proceeded to get ready and go to work. So I jumped in my car. And again, it was around 8:30, 8:20, 8:30. And so I jumped in my car. And I remember it being such a beautiful day. The weather was beautiful. And here in Virginia. And so all of a sudden I get a phone call from my wife. And she says, hey, did you hear that there was a plane that ran into one of the towers? I said, no, I know that there was something that was happening. And she said, her sister, I'm not going to say her sister's name, but her sister called and said, hey, and where her sister lived, actually she still lives there, she has a direct shot. She can see both towers where she lives in New York. She said she heard on the news that there was a plane flying around, and then she actually saw this plane fly into the tower. I said, okay, it must be a small plane, because I remember years ago there was a little small plane that flew into the Empire State Building. And she said, no, there's a big hole. And she said, okay, hold on. She's calling me back. And so I'm still driving to work. And so I hung up the phone. And then my wife called and said, let me put you on three-way. And she put me on three-way. And her sister was screaming. And she said, another plane hit the other tower. By then I'm like, what? I said, hold on. And then the phone went dead. And then my colleague called me. We both worked at the same place. He called me, and I'm on my way to work. He said, we are under attack. And so I said, hey, let's just go ahead and get into the office and sort this thing out. Because we both worked for AT&T broadband. And so by the time we got to the office, we knew everything was happening. And it was bad. But see, there's another part to the reason why I actually, it touched me today when I saw this picture. It's been sitting there. We've been in this house now for more than 20 years. It's been sitting where it was for more than 20 years. I remember that time when, the same day, my sister, Lupus in Color, guys, go ahead and check out their channel, they decided to move to Virginia. And so long story short, she moved here, I don't know, a few weeks before 9/11. And so at the day of 9/11, husband, my brother-in-law, was on his way to get a train to come here to finally move. He had to work and he had to go give his badge in, and we both had SkyTel. I don't know if anyone remembers the text platform SkyTel, but we had that and we were talking, and it was a pager basically. And when that happened, my sister said, I'm trying to get a hold of, and I'm not going to say his name, but I'm trying to get a hold of my husband. And so I said, okay, go ahead and let me know. And so by then, all of these things were happening. And we got into the office. We were trying to get a hold of her husband. And at the time, my mother-in-law lived here. We moved her out of New York a while ago. And she was here, and we were all just trying to phone each other. Sometimes the phone would go out, other times it wouldn't. So I was in the office, and we heard about all the other planes. And so I was in my office, and there was a break area. And all of the technicians were in the break area watching the TV. And as I was sitting there, all of them started screaming at the top of their lungs. And so I ran in, and I saw that first building topple. Caught it right when it was halfway down. And so immediately it was just a horrible feeling, and so many emotions came by my mind, and we were all talking, saying, we're under attack, we're under war. And at that point, yes, we were at war, which basically that was the start. And so, long story short, my sister couldn't get a hold of my brother-in-law, her husband. But out of all of the cell phones that we had, and out of all of the communication, the regular phones that we had, our SkyTel pager worked. And I was able to contact him via SkyTel. And he said that because his office was in Midtown, and he said he was going uptown because he wasn't going by his office. And so, as a family, we all said, let's meet. And we went to my youngest sister, Lupus and Color's house. And we were all together. And at that point, I realized that the world has changed. We're no longer in a somewhat safe zone. Things got real. And so I'm sharing this because maybe what I went through can help someone deal with what happened. I know people who have lost people during that horrific day in 2001. And I know people that have lost, I know people who know people have lost their lives during this 20-year conflict. And this isn't the time to criticize. It's a time to count our blessings. Some people call this day Patriot Day, and that word patriot has morphed into something horrible. But as some of us who were alive during that time, my brother-in-law was down there, and he saw the mayhem. I spoke to my friend, my high school buddy, who I went to elementary school with, and I went through high school with him. He was on the Brooklyn Bridge walking back to Brooklyn when the buildings fell, and he saw both of them fall. My sister-in-law was on the phone with my wife. and then the phone hung up, and she was on the phone with my wife when the second plane hit. And she was there saying that there's another plane circling. This thing was real. I don't normally do videos like this. I had to stop for a second. Guys, I wonder if this can help someone. The 20th anniversary of what happened. I'm wondering if this can actually bring some communities that have been apart back together. I'm wondering if this, instead of it being something that we go out and criticize what's happening now and what happened with Afghanistan. Yeah, it is what it is. But instead of criticizing everything, let's just stop a moment and just pray for each other. And let's stop for a moment and just think of where you were. How did it impact you? So this picture that I have here, I was going to put it up here, but I just decided I'm going to put it back where it was, but I did clean it. And as I give tribute for those that were down there, the first responders, the second responders, the third responders, the people who lost their lives when the other building fell mysteriously. Let me shut up. When the other building fell, and then when the other buildings fell, and the subsequent health issues. Guys, let's just stop for a moment and just think about this country and what it truly means to be American, what it truly means to be a patriot.